Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and I'm here today with another Destiny 2 video. In today's video, I'm going to provide some initial thoughts of mine on the newest Destiny 2 season, the Splicer. Before we begin, all the gameplay you're going to see is pulled straight from my Twitch channel, and if you like any of what you see on the channel, consider leaving a follow on here as well as my Twitch, which will be linked below. It's going to be somewhat of a short video today, but if you like what you see, like and subscribe is appreciated. The season of the Splicer definitely had some big shoes to fill, given that the season of the Chosen is probably one of the best seasons we've seen so far in terms of both loot and story content. Having spent several hours with the new season already, I think I can say that it's more of what was good about Season 13, with some changes to that structure to help keep things somewhat fresh. Chosen had a good balance between the core playlist and the seasonal activity, Battlegrounds, and Splicer also manages to do that. You can earn ether really quickly for your gauntlet, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's easier to get the new loot quickly, although at the time that I'm recording this video, the Umbral focusing system is still bugged and is costing double the decrypted data that it should, so maybe hold off on focusing Umbrals for the time being. You can also use that decrypted data to rush upgrades for your Splicer Gauntlet if you want, unlike last season's War Table, which did have time-gated upgrades. The new seasonal activity, Overrides, are also a ton of fun, and they're a good return to the 6-man matchmade activities like Sundial and Menagerie. X-Network environment is also really cool, and it looks fairly unique from everything else in the game we've seen thus far. The loot this season also seems pretty solid. The new exotic sidearm, Cryothesia 77k, is a ton of fun, but it doesn't seem like having a stasis effect on it will necessarily break the Crucible too much, but we're only 2 days in, so that remains to be seen. The legendary loot is pretty great as well. I liked seeing some of the old future War Cult weapons return, with Lakshmi's inclusion in the story. And the Splicer weapons from the seasonal activity are also really fun, and it's nice to have a new kinetic grenade launcher after all this time. The new perks also look pretty solid. I'm excited to try out Adrenaline Junkie on more weapons, and obviously I haven't gotten any of the Vault of Glass loot yet, but Firefly is a welcome return on most of those weapons as well. Hungjury SR4 is another fan favorite that's returning this season, and I'm excited to grind for that in some of the Nightfalls whenever it is available in the rotation. The new ritual weapon also looks to be really good, with Loaded Questions Pinnacle perk, Reservoir Burst, returning on the Null Composure, but it will also be available on the Plug 1, which is actually available in this week's Nightfall. The new Stasis aspects and fragments are also really cool, but they aren't the wildest things in the world. If I had to pick one, the Titan Spear is probably my favorite, just from how fun it is, but all three are solid. Excited to do some builds with those. The story for this season also seems to be on par with Season of the Chosen thus far. I'm really excited to see Bungie putting the story in the actual game for once, and getting to see characters interact with dialogue in-game is actually so much better than just lore cards like we've had for 3 years now. Mithrax taking center stage is also awesome, since he's long been one of the most interesting characters, but he's only existed inside of lore cards and a couple one-off quests. Bungie is finally using him for things outside of those lore cards, and having the Elixni in the city is also a big deal for the story, especially with some of the lore cards that explain the conflicts between the human residents of the city and the Elixni refugees. All really interesting stuff. Very good stuff as far as the story concerned, with the whole Vex simulation and the Endless Night. Excited to see where it goes as it develops throughout the story. The only downsides thus far really are tied to the transmog system. I know the PvP map situation is there. I don't play a ton of PvP, so it doesn't affect me as much, but I will acknowledge PvP maps are needed. However, the transmog outrage is probably the biggest sticking point, and even that's fairly small. The main issue I seem to have, while the cap is still my main concern, the grind for it is a little ridiculous, and it seems like even with the cap being there, it'll be pretty hard for players to even hit that cap at all. I'm just gonna hold out and see how Bungie changes this. They're likely to change it sometime soon. On top of all that, I'm excited to see selectable difficulty on raids return, given that we have Vault of Glass selectable difficulties on the roadmap, and I'm excited to see the challenge mode for the Day 1 race. I'm curious as to what that'll entail. However, that's all for me for the time being. If you liked what you saw, like and subscribe here if you want to see some more, as well as follow my Twitch down below to catch me live. I'll be streaming a lot of the new season grind, as well as the Day 1 Vault of Glass race over there. Hope you enjoyed this Destiny 2 video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.